is made from rendered animal fat. This fat could then be turned into inexpensive candles. This form of candlelight has been in use since ancient times, and though not very popular today, candle making is still common with some groups. I'm going to focus mainly on methods from the 1700s. Tallow candles come in two forms. Those with the meagerest of means, rushlight was the light form used. Rushlights were made from a dried piece of rush, a grass-like plant dipped into tallow and dried. They were then held in a kind of vise to burn. They put out about as much light as a modern match and lasted about 2 minutes for every inch. I'm going to attempt to make a rushlight. So first, I'm going to try to render some fat into tallow. The most desirable fat is called leaf fat, the fat deep inside the animal surrounding the internal organs of the kidneys. That deep leaf fat is what will turn hardest after rendering and make a nice solid candle. Tallow was also used for making soap, cooking, and baking. People who owned animals could save the fat after the slaughter, and those who didn't have animals could use fat from game animals, pay or trade for it, or could use leftover cooking fat. Pork fat was the most desirable fat for candle making in the 18th century because it had less of an odor than beef. Because it was desirable, it was a bit more expensive, and therefore people would mix it with beef fat. In America, the fat could have been rendered in a covered pot in an oven, on the hearth, or hanging from a crane. Because I don't have any of those things, I am going to use my trusty slow cooker and try to refine some of the fat I have saved from cooking. The better the render, the less color and odor there will be when the candle burns. What I don't want is for the fat to get too hot. Burning will make the tallow darker. I'm going to set my slow cooker on low and add a little bit of water and some salt. While I wait for the fat to render, I'm going to prep the rush. Rush is a plant that grows wild in wetlands. It grows closely with cattails. It's an aggressive plant that is known to choke out the cattails. Because it can be abundant, it isn't surprising it would have been used for making an expensive light. I picked this from a ditch on the side of the road near my house. I'm going to try to peel the green skin off, leaving the pulpy center to dry a bit. Once all the chunks of fat are melted, I'm going to transfer the liquid to a small bowl. I'm hoping the water and any impurities will settle to the bottom and the fat will rise to the top, leaving me with a fat cake. I've washed the slow cooker and now I'm going to melt the fat again. This step is sometimes called purifying. I don't think most people would have done this because of the amount of time and resources required to do it again, but because I'm going to make other things from this tallow, I'm going to go ahead and render it once more. Now I'm going to make the rushlight. I'm going to dip the piece of rush into the warm tallow over and over and over until I have something that looks a little bit like a candle, I hope. Time to test it out. I want to see how brightly it burns. All of my sources say it should burn as bright as a match, so first I want to see how bright a match is. And just to make sure I'm not biased, I have a photometer to help me measure the light and a tape measure to make sure I keep the same distance from the light source. 10, 14 and 9. Now let's see how bright my homemade rushlight is. Okay, that was super awesome, Angel. Maybe I didn't let the rush dry long enough. That could be an issue. Could just be a little too green yet. But it smells awful. Just awful. Burnt bacon and sour milk all at the same time. Alright, let's try again. Not every experiment is going to be successful. The other problem is that I think it's burning too fast, and it does seem to be about as bright as match, according to my little sensor here. There it goes. Now we're cooking. Oh, now we're done. Please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. That tells the YouTube algorithm to push it out to people enjoying similar content. Join me next week when I make 2 different tallow candles following recipes from the 1860s. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.
There's no